With COVID-19 continuing to rear its ugly head across the country, the restaurant industry in Ocean City, Maryland has had a lot to grapple with. The crisis has also affected the dive bar population here. Dive bar, you say? Well, yeah, Ocean City has some great dive bars. And in this video, we're going to dive into a handful. As usual, I must offer this caveat. I have a feeling going into this that my criteria for what is a dive bar may require some explanation. So let's begin with some philosophical questions we ought to get out in front of. When you think of a dive bar, do you think of a hole in the wall, a smoky room where light barely penetrates, the glow of neon bar signs, a pool table maybe, a film of dust on everything? For a beach town like Ocean City, does that eliminate outdoor dining options? I guess it depends on how elaborate or integral outdoor seating is to your business model. And in our present COVID-19 landscape, where bars and restaurants have to be creative to survive, can we make exceptions to that rule for dive bars? When you think of a dive bar, do you think about locals, where everybody knows your name, and if you're an outsider, as you cross the floor, the record scratches, and everyone looks at you with an unfriendly stare? For a beach town, does that eliminate a large segment of the transient population, aka the tourists? Not according to the owner of the Harbor Inn Bar, the oldest bar in Ocean City and the original dive bar in Ocean City. And we're going to talk to him later. When you think of a dive bar, do you think of inexpensive food and cheap beer? That depends what you're eating and drinking. Hey, shrimping ain't easy. And because you can surely find craft beer in a dive bar going at $7 a plastic cup, can we truly romanticize the days of the $2.50 pint? Well, yeah, those can still be found. Again, the stereotype of a dive bar may not be our only guide. We may have to work off of Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart's famous response on how one defines obscenity, when he famously said, "I know it when I see it." But do we know a dive bar when we see it? Let's take a look at some of Ocean City's dive bars, and I'll let you decide. And if I've missed anything, or you have different criteria, let me know in the comments section below. Oh, and please, consider subscribing. Let's go. So today we're starting our reviews of Ocean City dive bars at the famous Frog Bar. This place is right at the inlet. Can be kind of hard to spot, but it's got a beautiful look of the bay, where the bay meets the ocean. So it's right at the south point of Ocean City. There's some parking around here, but it's definitely a dive bar atmosphere. Let's go take a look. My first stop was the Frog Bar. Perched over the inlet, it has the absolute best views in Ocean City, where one can scan the bay, inlet, and ocean simultaneously. This little nook would make this place $1 million stop if it weren't for the cramped quarters and gritty feel, despite the brightly painted interior and large bay windows. The menu is dialed down, and the beers are limited, although I did order a $7 craft beer that left me feeling that even the dive bar is not immune to the high-price bar and restaurant industry in Ocean City, Maryland. Still, the Frog Bar has a few tables and bench seating outside, and that view just makes up for whatever might be lacking in anything else. It was the only place I visited where the bartender didn't seem to care whether I was there or not. Hey, welcome to the dive bar. Right behind the Harbor Inn Bar's claim to oldest bar at the beach is the bar. That's it, just the bar. Or sometimes the bar at the inlet. It resides a few blocks east from the Frog Bar and Grill, towards the ocean, and is so nestled into the boardwalk that you might miss it unless you are actively looking for it. In fact, I didn't know it existed for many years. But the bar, whose motto is the best kept secret since 1945, or is it 1940? There seems to be some internal marketing contradictions. But this place is the oldest bar on the boardwalk, and given how quickly restaurants and bars come and go from the Ocean City landscape, that feat alone deserves some special recognition. Go in and mingle with the locals, and enjoy some of the ghost stories surrounding its history, care of the friendly bar staff, and you'll see why this place maintains a spot on my list.
My name is Brenda, and I'm the manager of the Inlet Lodge Bar, the oldest bar on the boardwalk in Ocean City, Maryland. This is our 75th year, and we'll be celebrating in August. We'll have a big party, so come on down and join us.
So we think that this is the last cigarette machine in town?
I think so.
And it's right here, guys, at the bar, located on the boardwalk. So since I started this journey looking for dive bars in Ocean City, everyone said you have to go to the original dive bar, you have to try it. Well, I have found it. Right behind me, Harbor Inn Bar. Let's do it. The Harbor Inn Bar lays claim to the oldest bar in Ocean City, affectionately known to the locals as the Bloody Bucket in the 60s and 70s. According to the legend I heard, though I cannot verify, it took over the rough and tumble crowd in the days of yore, when its predecessor, the Chum Bucket, burned to the ground. The Harbor Inn has been in the same family since the 1930s, and should it make it another 10 years, it will celebrate its centennial anniversary.
Harbor Inn, the oldest bar in Ocean City, Maryland. My name's Charles. I've been here quite a while. Started back with my family, started this bar here back in the 30s, and before that a generation prior was first here to Ocean City. We pride ourselves in that. We give you the hometown hospitality here, unlike some of the other places. You shouldn't go unlike. There's a lot of great places in town, but compared to other dive bars where they have that image where it is that bar you walk up to and you may not want to go in, if you breach our door here, you get a happy face here behind this place. Harbor Inn, 1935 established. We are liquor license number 32 in the entire state of Maryland. One of our entire business models on that is being one of the oldest bars in Maryland. We are the oldest bar in Ocean City, Maryland, owned by the same family, same location. We're not going anywhere as far as we can be. This is my home stake, and I'm next in line to the throne of this place. I don't know how to describe it. I'm ecstatic about that, to be able to own this little gem downtown here in Ocean City, Maryland. It's one of the bars, of course, I go to my own bar. There's a lot of close bars here that are similar to this, but this is the smallest, tightest, oldest 5-star dive in town. Is my best description for it.
I used to think that the further south you traveled on the boardwalk, the shadier the crowd. I felt the same way about the bars down there. With names like the Bearded Clam or its neighbor, the Cork Bar, I just assumed they were fronts for bad behavior. But when you step into a place like the Cork Bar, you immediately feel the sense of pride that goes into a place where firefighters are honored everywhere. It's not just a trope to drum up business. I sat next to a firefighter, and we even shared a beer. There's a lot to look at here, and the menu isn't bad, if you don't mind your cheese fries coming to you with microwave cheese and a plastic ramekin.
Opened up in 1978. Bearded Clam. Been here for, over 42 years now. It's one of the landmarks in Ocean City. Original biker bar. Basically, squeezing fresh fruits since the 70s, you know what I mean? Now everybody does it in Maryland. And that's about it. Now it's like more, integrated to more like firemen and police and,
all first
everybody's
responders.
welcome. Everybody's welcome, yeah.
Yeah.
Still the bikers here,
But you still get a big crowd of bikers coming in for Bike Week.
Bike Week is like, this is the spot right here.
This is
it, yeah.
Okay. Probably the most typical example of what one imagines when they think of dive bars, the Bearded Clam has crafted a local's feel in a tourist's resort town. The walls are brimming with tributes, license plates, beer advertisements, and photos reminiscing to the good old days. The dark wood walls and bar is miles apart from the light and beachy motifs found at bigger restaurants and bars up the coast. And the company is what one would expect. Act like you've been there before, and you'll get along just fine. You might even enjoy yourself. Crawl Street Tavern completes the trifecta on the Wicomico block, along with the Cork Bar and the Bearded Clam. This is one of the newest dive bars in the downtown area, featuring live music and a decent menu. I had the nachos and their special hot sauce, and it was good. Of course, grab a cold beer or a shot of whiskey while you're at it. For my money, no dive bar in Ocean City is quite as iconic as the Purple Moose Saloon. It's one of those places that has enough crossover power that the average polo and khaki-wearing tourist might darken its doors for a beer or to hear one of the incredible live bands that play. And since it's right on the boardwalk, the music beckons to curiosity seekers and regulars alike. Gary Walker, who recently passed away in July, bought the Moose in 1975 and turned it into one of the best rock and roll bars at the beach. It's definitely worth a visit. Coins has been around since 1985, and I remember it being a favorite spot my parents would frequent when they wanted cheap drinks and good food. I was surprised to see that it had the biggest midday crowd of all the dives I visited during my trip. But Coins also looks its age. It's dark, and the crowd was quiet. Just the kind of place to have a drink and be left in peace. Now, when you're at a dive bar, a good dive bar is always going to have a pickleback ready for you. So, got my whiskey, got my pickle juice. Here we go. Pickleback. That's the way it should be. Another plus for me was the beer. It was ice cold on draft. So after 3 beers, a whiskey, and an order of wings, I was happy to see a bill hovering just around $22. Making my way further up the coast, I headed north and landed at the Salty Dog. This is another long-established dive bar that's been at the beach for decades. Over the years, this bar found its identity as a hotspot for Pittsburgh sports fans, and now the bar has quite the tribute to all things Pittsburgh, including a shared menu between the bar and the neighboring restaurant, Dry Dock 28. Salty Dog may live on the margins of what I consider a dive bar, having more of a neighborhood bar feel. Its renovated interior and wall-to-wall memorabilia make it look more like a sports bar, but I included it on my list as an example of a place that you might not consider going to if you're only coming to the beach looking for sand, outdoor dining, and tropical drinks. I guess I could have included Whiskers Pub given that criteria, but I'll save that for another time. I found the Salty Dog a bit expensive. The food was just okay, but the atmosphere was cool, even though I'm not a Pittsburgh fan. Poor Kirby's, wedged between the ultra-hipster liquid assets and the kid-friendly candy kitchen like a pariah that nobody wants to claim. But the fact of the matter is that Kirby's has been there longer than the other 2 popular destinations, and if I were a betting man, I would say it will be there when the other 2 are gone. When you think of Kirby's, words like unpretentious and simple, taken right from their own Google description, is one I can get behind. Kirby's is both these things. The small crowd inside at 3 p.m. on a Wednesday was a little tipsy, and I was informed they come here often. Locals? Check. And if you are overwhelmed by large menus, their no-frills beer selection will make things easy for you. Remember the Alamo? Ever heard of the Alamo? If you're like me, and occasionally enter Ocean City from Route 50, you've seen the cool Art Deco, or is it Art Nouveau, neon sign flashing along the highway. You probably heard this was a 1-star motel. And when you read the reviews, you learned it definitely is a 1-star motel, and you cringed at those reviews. But with a new owner, a new coat of paint, and a new outlook on life, the Alamo hopes to be something, well, new. Its interior dive bar, Caribbean Joe's, has been renovated, hoping to erase away years of neglect and shame. I spoke with the grandson of the owner who told me the bar attracts a healthy-sized crowd on the weekends with live music. It has a swanky 1950s feel on the inside with sliding doors looking out to a pool. The brightly colored paints and beach themes are noteworthy attempts to take advantage of the new construction found everywhere in West Ocean City, as the west side of the bay tries to capitalize on its next to prime real estate. Ponzetti's is a well-known pizza restaurant in North Ocean City serving beachgoers since 1962. Head next door and you come face-to-face with Sports Pub. If you're like me, you'd be curious about another dive bar that puts little time into presentation. But Sports Pub is actually an extension of Ponzetti's, so there was no need to give much thought to a rebranding campaign when your restaurant is already an institution at the beach. The bar is surprisingly open with high ceilings, plenty of room, a beautiful wooden bar, and all the standard liquor you can handle, plus the added bonus of pizza. Alright, I'm at Beach Barrels right now. This is 132nd Street on Coastal Highway on the bay side. It's a cool little place. It's a little bit more than a dive bar. It's fairly new. It was started by the owners of Primo Hoagies, so we've got a nice little bar set up here, and it's a friendly feel to it. I'm kind of digging it right now. My final stop landed me at Whiskers Pub. When I think of dive bars, Whiskers is one of the quintessential experiences. Beautifully appointed wood bar? Yes. Bottles lined up behind that bar? Check. Mirror behind the bar? You got it. Close quarters drinking? Of course. They also have a delicious menu and draft beers that are friendly on the wallet. And if you're not a Pittsburgh fan and the Salty Dog isn't your scene, you have a Washington bar here in Ocean City awaiting your patronage. In all seriousness, Ocean City businesses like these need your support now more than ever. COVID-19 has affected lives, but it's also destroyed livelihoods. Most of the bartenders or owners I spoke with are doing all they can to keep these places afloat, and I fear if we continue on the current path, we may have a very different Ocean City awaiting us in 2021. Well, guys, this ends our excursion into the dive bars of Ocean City, Maryland. Thanks for traveling with Trey. Cheers. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you next time. So long.